Special teams guys often go unnoticed, but you had a guy last year, Owen Zalk, who made the Special Teams Player of the Year in the Ivy. What goes into a guy like Owen Zalk, and what goes into a really good special teams player?
Absolutely. So with Owen, I think, he started as a true freshman, and then he ended up being a two-time All-American, and he just got named preseason All-American for his third year. So he's a pretty special person. But, we talk about special teams all the time, and football itself, right? Football typically starts from the ground up, but in special teams, in my opinion, especially for the specialists, it starts from the top down. So mentally, I think he really separated himself amongst his peers and everyone else in the country, if I'm being honest. The way he carried himself, his attention to detail, and his just willingness to compete. He was always excited. Anytime there was a ball that was going to be kicked, he wanted to be on the field. So I loved his mentality.
Coach, we heard some metrics out there in terms of like how important one play on special teams can be. How important is it as a team to be able to have periods where you just like really the whole team's focused on one thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, today we did some punt return stuff, and Coach announced on the loudspeaker there's an 85% chance to win the game if you block a punt. And, I've been fortunate in my career. We blocked 6 in 20 games, so the guys understand that value, and we give them stats, we give them data, we show them examples of that happening. So it gives them kind of faith to believe in it, but we have to work on it. So the fine details will be second nature to us when those plays arise.
How do you go about learning all those details? I mean, it's in every position, all 11 guys out there, it's like a step here, put your hands this way, move
right.
This way. How have you gone about increasing that knowledge base to know all that?
Absolutely. So first off, in my opinion, special teams isn't its own entity. It's all ball. Right, so it's offense and defense combined. So really the techniques that those guys are utilizing is no different than what they're doing on offense and defense. But I've been fortunate, I've had some really good people that I could reach out to, talk to, and then obviously I watch a lot of tape. So I watch a lot of tape in my free time.
For what makes a good special teams player?
You're saying like specialists or just anyone in general?
Like the guys that are out tackling and blocking.
Absolutely.
Because some of them are big and some of them aren't.
Absolutely.
And like your long snap, when I was a kid, your long snapper was your center.
Right.
Now your long snapper's built like you.
Absolutely. I mean, specialist, one, for them it's the mentality. But two, for everyone else that's going to be involved in the units, it's really just being a good offensive player, being a good defensive player, and then the biggest thing we talked about is discipline and trust. Right? If you're consistent, being disciplined, you're working the techniques, and I learn that I can trust you out there, then that's going to make you a great player.
It's also, they've talked often about wanting to be able to flip fields. Just your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about seeing scores in just football in general, whether it's the NFL, college. Everyone sees how much points the offense and defense scored or gave up, but they don't talk about where people start with the ball. And we talk about field position all the time, and we drill it. We work coffin punts, pinning them inside the 10-yard line. We're fortunate we have a really good punter who does that quite often, more inside the 5 than anything. But we intend on flipping the field this year. It's a huge emphasis.
You talk a little bit about the jobs that probably the most important guys are those long snappers.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they have a lot on their plate, so the way that we run our punt team, there's some checks, there's some different blocking schemes that they need a part of. But we're fortunate right now that the guy who's going to start for us is Giovanni, and he's really arose as a leader on the team. It's not just on special teams, but you could see him in the weight room, in the locker room. The guys really listen to him.
And he's a football player because I noticed that like he was a high school quarterback and all that.
Yeah, no, he's athletic. He's really athletic. I mean, you watch him during the weight room or running on the field. He's twitchy, and he does some of the drills. Right, he's in the defensive circuit doing tackle circuit or takeaway circuit, and he's doing it just as good as anybody else.
For your kickers, what do you have hopes for as far as like a distance area that you want them to be able to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being in the Northeast, the conditions are really going to be going to decide that for us. I mean, we can kick on sticks and put it 60 yards down the field with no wind, or if there's some wind in our face, we'll adjust based off that. But both of our guys have some really strong legs.
Coach, last year the special teams was a real area of concern for the Minutemen. How have you kind of flipped the mentality into a new page this year under your reign?
Absolutely. So last year to me is dead. So the only thing that I'm concerned about is competing against how I ran it last year. Right? So in my mind, we had a lot of success in my last place. You take over a new program who hasn't had a lot of success. It's I'm going to compete against myself in that aspect. But, you know, it's culture. And to me, no different than the specialists, right? Kicking starts from the top down. Special teams culture starts from the top down as well. So Coach Harris-Simiak puts a tremendous amount of effort, and he really puts a tremendous amount of effort and emphasis on it every single day. Whether it's in a team meeting, special teams meetings, he does a great job.
We haven't seen a depth chart or anything like that yet, so I don't know how you characterize it. But can you just talk about the kicker competition? I don't know if you call it that.
Absolutely. So this week we actually named Derek Morris our starting kicker. It was tight. We have the numbers, the data to be behind that. But right now where we're at in camp, kind of just passing the midway point, I believe chemistry is very important between the snapper, holder, and the kicker. So we've been getting those reps the last couple of days here, which has been huge.
What has he done, or what allowed him to win that job?
Yeah, I mean, it's a true meritocracy. You make more kicks, it's easy to figure it out, right? It's all based off the numbers, and I really like the way Derek actually carries himself. I know we referenced Owen Zalk earlier. Those two aren't too far apart from each other when it comes to a mental aspect and ability. He reminds me of him a lot, which is awesome.
And your holder is?
It's going to be Keegan Andrews. Yeah, so you'll hear a lot of Aussie talk in the back.
What is it about, you know, I see that starting more and more, you know, it's punter, kicker, you know, instead of like backup third string quarterback.
Yeah, it's just we have so much more time throughout the day to work on it. You know, offense obviously has their periods and individual drills, so instead of spending time with a quarterback working on, you know, for 5 minutes on the side, we have a whole practice to work on that.
Have you learned anything about kicking in this building yet? I know it's early and there hasn't been a whole lot, but you know, winds and all that.
No doubt. I mean, it was funny. We go from the spring kicking in the bubble, and then we come out here in the wind. You never know which direction it's going. You could be on one side of the field, it's blowing one way. The other side of the field, it's blowing in opposite direction. But if I know anything about our guys, they'll put it in consideration, but they're just going to rip the ball back there.
Coach, talk to me a little bit about recruiting someone from like halfway across the world in Australia.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen some stuff populating on Twitter recently talking about Pro Kick Australia, but those guys do a great job when it comes to communicating and giving you guys that they deem appropriate for you, and then it's really just figuring out what type of person and player they are. So you got to watch them kick live on FaceTime. I'm hoping I get the opportunity to go over there next year, but it's interesting. But you know, at the end of the day, it's no different than recruiting anyone else. You know, they're all people, and all those guys want to compete.